What you fixin' DIYers? It's Walker with DIWHY.LIFE. And this episode we are going to be taking a look at some vintage audio gear. We've got the Sony MiniDisc recorder model MZ-R55. This little gem was a gift to me from my brother back in 1998. He lives in Japan, and when this thing came out, he got it for me. He also got me a microphone, a stereo microphone to go with it, so I could play around with doing recordings, and he could share music and discs with each other across distances. This is an interesting piece of equipment because it represents a time in audio technology right before MP3s came out and pretty much changed the whole game. These things play an optical disc, much like a CD player, except they utilized an MP3-ish type codec to allow them to compress the audio a little bit more than what is on a CD. It's called A-track technology. And it basically allowed them to lower the bit rate from CD's 1400 kilobits per second to something around 200 kilobits per second. That's what makes it possible to have a whole album on this little disc here. The other thing that these discs solved or helped solve was CD's tendency to skip a lot. Like if you had a CD player and you were walking around with it, first off, you couldn't put a portable CD player in your pocket. You had to either hold it or you had to put it in a bag or carry it in something because they were just too big to fit in a pocket. This can fit in a pocket. Not only that, as you're moving with a CD player, it skips a lot. And even with some of the best ESP, you're going to get a lot of skips in your audio when you're trying to listen. This solved a lot of that. The fact that it's in a cartridge and it's spinning in a more secure fashion really reduced the skippage, and it also has a buffer, I think it's a 2 or 3 second buffer, to help smooth out that music playback. I just love this little thing. It brings back so many cool memories. I've got tons and tons of mini discs here, and I've got a bunch here. I've also got the fabric little pouch that it came in. I've got the gumstick battery. This thing is pretty cool. It's a thin little nickel metal hydride battery that fits in the unit. And I've also got the expansion battery pack that goes with it so that you can use AA batteries with it and extend the playback time. Because this gumstick battery really only lasted like an hour, hour and a half before it died. So you had to have some AA's to keep it going. I also have the power supply that came with it. And I have the original headphones with the remote, the inline remote system that works with the unit. This thing allows you to turn the volume up or down, fast forward to the next track, previous track, and I think you can also add a track marker with this thing. And my brother was nice enough to get me this stereo microphone for doing audio recordings. I was an art major in college, and I did a lot of multimedia projects, and I was always like recording audio, and up until the mini disc recorder came along, the best way to get high quality audio recordings was to use a digital audio tape recorder, and those were super expensive. But this came along and gave me super high quality recordings in the palm of my hand. And we'll talk about the recordings in a little bit. We'll do a test recording, and I'll talk about what I love about this thing and what I don't like so much about it. But as far as playback and listening to music, the thing is fantastic. It functions much like a CD player. Put it in and you can jump from track to track. And these little MD discs are so darn cute. I always thought that they were so neat. They're like, they're almost like the, you know, floppy disks from back in the day. They've got a little, and I think you have to, there's a little button here that needs to be pushed. It has to actually be in the player for you to open the access door. There's probably a little button or something I can press to get it to work, but anyways, you don't want dust and debris getting in there, so that's why they put that requirement. But yeah, these little discs are super fun, and I've got a bunch of them. What I never ended up doing was buying an actual like album from an artist in MD format. And I recently went on eBay just out of curiosity to see like what, you know, like a Red Hot Chili Peppers MD would be going for, and I was shocked. They're like 125, one was like almost $250 for a Blood Sugar Sex Magic MD. So that tells me right there that people are kind of into these things, and their value is only going to go up, you know, the more rare that they become. I'm going to try to hang on to this thing as long as I can. I'm actually super surprised that the thing still works and still functions. After all these years, I probably haven't touched it in about 15 years. There was a disc in here that I was recording with last time I used it. It was probably like, I don't know, 2008 or something, or 9. It was some recordings I did of my son, Brighton, when he was like 3 years old or something. Him singing and me singing to him and playing my ukulele and stuff. And it was really neat to you know, plug it in and listen back and to hear those recordings of the last time I used this thing. The other thing I did with this recorder was I had it in my pocket on December 31st, 1999, when it switched to year 2000, and we were here in San Diego with a bunch of friends on the beach, and we sound like total idiots, thinking like Y2K was gonna like take down all the airplanes and stuff. But it was fun to find that MD and dust it off, put it in there and give a listen. Something about just recording audio, when you've got a camcorder pointed at you, everybody acts a little different. Everybody, you know, kind of puts on a show for the camera, but when it's just an audio recording and nobody can actually see that you're or notice that you're actually recording, I don't know, I think you get a different, more natural kind of experience of what took place. And looking back at the digital photos, like the 640 by 480, old school, like my first digital camera pictures from that night, really brings back, and listening to the recordings off this MD, really just kind of brought me back to that time, and it was kind of cool. One thing I did notice when I pulled this thing out and took the battery out of it is that at some point the battery started leaking, and it caused a little bit of corrosion in there. And then also the AA's, they leaked a little bit too, and they corroded some of these contacts in there. So the first thing I want to do before we start messing with it is I want to go ahead and clean those contacts off and get them all cleaned up so that everything will work properly. And to do that, we got our friends at iFixit. We're going to use some iFixit tools. This video is sponsored by iFixit. If you ever need to repair some electronics or replace the screen or battery in your phone, hit up iFixit. They've got all kinds of kits and instructions and tools and everything to help you get your stuff fixed. So iFixit. For this video, we'll just use the tech mat as we're cleaning, and we're going to use the screensaver to clean up the unit after we're done. Oh, and the iFixit microfiber cloth. Okay, to clean this corrosion, we're just going to use a little bit of vinegar. Vinegar works well. It's an acid. It should clean up the corrosion quite nicely. And then we'll go back after we've cleaned it up, and we'll go back over it with some rubbing alcohol to remove the vinegar, because the vinegar, like I said, is an acid, and if you leave it on over time, it can kind of eat away at things. So you want to kind of neutralize it. So yeah, we'll just go and get in here. Oh, look at that, you can already see the stuff coming off onto the Q-tip. It's doing a great job of dissolving it. And if we wanted to, we could even use like I got a little toothbrush here. Get in there. And we'll use a little bit more vinegar, a toothbrush. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now we'll move on to the external battery, the AA battery caddy here. Put a little bit of, ooh, it's sizzling. I can literally hear the vinegar sizzling the corrosion. That's crazy. I didn't expect that. Just put this white vinegar back. And let's use some alcohol to neutralize the vinegar, so it doesn't continue to eat away at our stuff. Let's get rid of all that acid. All right, that's looking pretty good. And then as a final step, we'll give the MD player a nice cleaning, exterior cleaning. Just kind of rub it all the way, all over. I took pretty good care of this thing. I always kept it in its little pouch, and you can see the only damage it really has is this crack in the little screen here. I was kind of bummed when I got that. But other than that, it's pretty much in mint condition. Now let's give these headphones a cleaning. And the remote. Now that we're all cleaned up, we can move on to doing some demos. We'll play some MDs and we'll do some recordings. And actually, I'm super curious if this gumstick battery will still charge. I have this battery charger here that should work. We'll give it a shot and see what happens. It's red, so it looks like it's charging. Let's let that sit and charge for a while. But in the meantime, we can plug in our power supply and just run it off that my old sound effects MD that I was recording sound effects on. Some of these MDs that I have. So I've got Sublime, all right, Outcast, Funk 2, Led Zeppelin, Pink Floyd, Chilled Classics, Newer Pop, Fiesta 1, Los Huevos, whatever that is, Kravitz and Jamiroquai, Raw and Hard, 9 Inch Nails, Rock Mix with Helmet, Weezer, and Nirvana. Some serious grunge going on there. Funk, Funk 3, Primus Contemporary Classics. I think this might be, oh, this says 50 cent, but I don't know what's on that one. This one is the one with Brighton on it. Sound effects and guitar stuff. Jane's Addiction. Curtis Mayfield, that's another one from my brother. Swing on the One. And Primus Classics. Well, let's see what's in here. I've got these little cases. Head PE. Classical Jam, Surf-O-Rama, Audio Slave, Classic Rock, Traveling MD, and G-Love Mix. So the neat thing about these MDs is it's kind of like making an old mixtape back in the day where you like recorded, you know, songs and put together music on a tape, gave it to your friend or just listened to it yourself, and you're able to kind of make these like playlists on these little discs. So it was really fun in that, you know, you would run out of something like a portable CD player or your stereo system, and you would go right into the line in. There's a line in jack, there's a microphone jack, and there's a line out jack. And then you've got the headphone, and this works. This is the one, the fancy one with the remote control, which is what those little extra data pins are for. But it works with any standard, you know, headphone as well. Got the open button, the record button. Hold, I don't know what hold means. Maybe it locks the, I don't know what hold means. Synchro record, AVLS. So yeah. And it's got the track creator, track mark creator. Just hit that button and it adds a track mark as you're recording, which is kind of cool. Let's see what we got here. Let's hit stop there. Eject. I'll only play a couple seconds because I don't want YouTube to ding me on copyright. So yeah, it plays, it still plays. As I was doing a little bit of research on this unit, I found this blog post that does a pretty good job of analyzing the sound quality of the unit, the playback sound quality, and she puts graphs and charts and, you know, sound waves and stuff, and her conclusion is that it actually does a really good job of high fidelity audio playback. So the thing does perform quite well. It does exactly what it was intended to do, and it does it pretty well. As for recording, the things I love about it, again, are how small and portable it is. You can take it with you anywhere. You can record on the go. You can't really record from other sources on the go unless you had like a Discman or something and you had a cable going between them. Then you could hit play on the Discman and hit record on this and do that, I guess. But recording with a microphone of you and your friends, or sound effects, or getting cool sounds here and there, or, you know, ambient stuff, or playing your guitar or whatever, this thing is super good at that. The only drawback, the only thing I really don't like about this thing is that since it is an optical disc and there is a laser in there that has to move around a little bit to, you know, to read and to write data, it has a little bit of a servo sound. So let me see if I can get the servo sound here on the microphone. As you jump from track to track, you can hear it a little bit. It makes a little like zzz, 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 zzz sound every time the laser has to move to either read or write. So every once in a while I hear that like little zzz, zzz sound in the recording, and I know that it's because the recorder is a little too close to the microphone, and it picks up the sound of the laser moving. You know, one thing you can do to avoid that is you can put the MD recorder in some type of like a little padded box, something to insulate it, to kind of trap the sound inside a little bit so that it doesn't emanate and get picked up by the microphone. You can also do that and like move it kind of off and away, so have it kind of away from the sensitive microphone. And if you do both of those things, you kind of move it away and you enclose it a little bit in something soundproof, then you won't ever hear that sound. So let's do that. Let's do some recordings with the unit. I've been playing a little bit of guitar lately, so we'll give that a shot. I'll take a stab at some a Bob Dylan song. Well, let's see if our gumstick battery here actually says it charged. We'll see what happens when we put it in. Okay, it says low bat. So it did charge a little bit, but it appears to only have charged enough to illuminate the low battery indicator. So, the battery's, 25 years old, so to be expected. Okay, I've got my cheat sheet here, my Ultimate Guitar app with the, it's a song by Bob Dylan called Don't Think Twice, That's All Right. And I think Social Distortion actually did a version of this song too. It's a pretty cool song. So we'll just do the beginning of that song. Let's go ahead and load in an MD. I actually have one here that's called Sound Effects and Guitar Stuff. So that seems to be like a pretty appropriate MD to use for the recording. Let's turn on our microphone. Let's plug it in. Over here into the microphone input. We're going to do mic sensitivity low because I found that mic sensitivity high has a little bit too much noise. It's a little too sensitive. So let's hit end search, and it looks like there's 44 tracks on this MD, and I have about 24 minutes of recording left on it. So check. Let's hit record, and to hit record you just kind of slide this little slider, and there's the sound of the laser moving that I was telling you about. So right now you're hearing me from the lav mic, but when I start playing, I'm going to switch to the mini disc mic completely. Okay. Well, there ain't no use in sitting wonder why, babe, if you don't know by now. And there ain't no use in sitting wonder why, babe, it'll have to somehow. When the rooster crows at the break of dawn, look out your window and I'll be gone. You're the reason I've been traveling on, so don't think twice, it's alright. Alright, that actually worked out pretty well. I didn't do too bad that last time. So yeah, that's the keeper. Well, thanks for hanging around to the end of the video with me. I hope you've enjoyed checking out my Sony MiniDisc recorder, the MZ-R55. This thing brings back so much good memories, and now that it's out and I'm playing around with it, I just want to do more recordings. So yeah, this could be a thing. If you like this video, please hit that like button and subscribe to my channel. If you have any questions about the mini disc recorder, or you just want to talk mini discs, please leave them below. And we'll see you next time. Well, there ain't no use in turning out your light, babe. The light I never did know. And there ain't no use in turning out your light, babe. I'm on the dark side of the road.